So welcome back to a new Dawn. I am Dawn, and as promised, today we're going to talk about Enough Part 2. I have been hesitating to record this video. I am going to warn you guys, there are going to be a lot of details, some of which may be triggering. It's certainly not what I want to do. More so want to just bring awareness to domestic abuse, and I want to share my story. As I've mentioned so many times before, I think it's important to just talk about these things because you never know who you can connect with. I have a very amazing support system. Friends, family members, co-workers alike. I have an amazing support system. But when I was going through it, I didn't want them to know. I was afraid. I was ashamed. I was embarrassed, and I didn't want to talk about it. Although I really didn't want to tell anybody what I was going through, I can see now that if I came across a video online of someone who looked like me, who I could relate to, who seemed like they were in a similar situation as me, it may have encouraged me to drop the dirt bag long before it got to be chaos, right? I can't go back and change my situation. The only thing I can do is learn from it. It's so funny because it literally just started storming here. It is storming, and we haven't had a thunderstorm in a little while, it seems like. So it's kind of ironic that today, when I'm deciding to record one of the most difficult experiences of my life, it's a thunderstorm outside. So hopefully y'all can hear me. Let's just get into it. So in part 1 of Enough, I kind of talked about letting things get to be so bad that you can't take it anymore before you start to make a change. And I knew I was dealing with someone who was not the right person for me from the very beginning. I had my reasons. I actually like this guy. I mean, I'm not gonna try to front like I didn't like him. There was some attraction in the beginning. He was real cool. He came into my life at a time where I was lonely. I had recently lost my grandmother. I was going through some stress at work. I was just kind of in a different place within my own self. And in hindsight, I do feel like, and I kind of have recognized that it probably made me more vulnerable and maybe even an easy target. And let me be very clear. I don't mean to say that I deserve the way I got treated. I don't mean to say that a victim deserves to be treated wrong, to be abused. What I mean is abusers target people. They know what they're doing. They are intentional about the people that they seek out. They are manipulative. They're controlling. They're usually narcissists. So they know what they're looking for. There's a certain type of individual that they have learned they can easily manipulate, easily control. And they look for that. They look for your vulnerabilities and they prey on you. I was in a different place in my life at the time that I met this guy. We were together for 5 years total. 5 years, way too long. I am very specifically going to discuss one day, one event that happened. It's important for me to talk about that day because number one, for myself, it is a reminder of what I went through. I realized that some people are never able to escape their abuser. I had an opportunity to escape. I was able to get away with my life. And I'm praying for you that if you're watching this video and you are in an abusive situation, that you get out before it's too late. I am going to focus on one day, but I'm going to talk about a couple of things that kind of led up to that. So if you watch Enough Part 1, a lot of that talks about my health concerns. In December of 2020, so COVID Christmas is what I like to call it, I was living in Texas at the time with my ex, and I am from Ohio. I had not been home to see my family for several years for the holidays, and I really wanted to come. So I did, and I invited him to come. He refused. We had an argument, a really bad argument, and I was in front of my family when we had this argument, and I was embarrassed. He was accusing me of doing things that I hadn't even thought about doing. And that's usually what they do, right? he started an argument with me, and my sister is the one who pointed out to me that the behavior, the things that he was saying to me over the phone, the way he was acting was controlling type of behavior, because essentially he was checking for me. He was checking my whereabouts, even though I was 1,000 miles away with my family. It was like I had to check in. My sister pointed out to me that that was controlling behavior, and that's when it hit me. I had been in this relationship with him for almost 5 years at that time, and it had just hit me when someone else said to me, he is controlling you. He is controlling you from 1,000 miles away. I was done really before I made it home, but coming home and being able to be around my family kind of solidified, it secured that for me. I hadn't seen them in a while. And one thing about abusers, they want to isolate you. They want to get you as far away from the people that love you the most and care about you the most as they possibly can. And even though I had been in Texas, I had chose to move there long before I met him. Before I was with him, I still came home. I still came home to see them. I still came home for the holidays. I still had them come to visit me. When I got with him, I found myself spending the holidays with him. I thought it was okay. We were in a relationship. I spent the holidays with his family. Again, I thought it was okay. We were in a relationship, but we never went to spend time with my family. And at the time, again, I thought not that big of a deal. We can't really afford it. But that wore on me after a while, because I missed my family. I missed seeing them. I missed spending time with them. I missed just being around them in person. I would FaceTime them often. So COVID Christmas was kind of a turning point for me. So badly did I want to tell my sister what I was going through, and I wanted to tell her it's so much more than you think, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. I just couldn't get the words out of my mouth. But in my mind, I was going back to my home, my apartment, and I was going to figure things out. It took me a while to do it. So within about a 6-month time frame, I think he knew Christmas was really a pivotal moment. So even though I had became a zombie, I was not myself for many months, if not years prior to that. At that point, when I came back home, I just had enough. I had enough of the bullshit. I had enough of the lies. I had enough of the garbage. I had enough of the nonsense. I had enough of being accused of doing things that I wasn't doing. I do feel like when someone's constantly accusing you of cheating, they're probably cheating themselves. That's a conversation for another day. But I went home and I just didn't have it in me to do anything else. So I stopped. I stopped doing everything. I stopped cooking. You know, I don't keep a dirty home, so I still clean, but I didn't have a regular routine like I had before. I just did the bare minimum. I remember walking around like a zombie. I mean, I had nothing left in me. I got up, I went to work, came home. I just was going through the motions. I do remember 2 very specific events. So my birthday's in January. His birthday's in February. March is when we met. So that was our anniversary. So those 3 months, the whole relationship, those 3 months, we've never really had too many problems. But I do remember, I think April, May, and then June was the last event, and I left. So we had bought some bikes. And let me back up. One of the reasons why I'm going to tell the story this way is because they say that your abuser becomes the most dangerous when they know you are planning to get out. It is true. I didn't know that while I was going through it. I heard it after the fact. I found out because I lived it. I think he felt the shift in me when I came home, and he knew I was tired. He knew I was done. He knew I didn't have it in me anymore. I wouldn't fight with him. I just was really even more nonchalant about things than I previously was, because like I said, I had checked out long before then, but it was just the true turning point. So I think he knew. When we would get into it, it would just get worse. The arguing, the fighting, physical abuse, it would just get worse. His MO was to take his hand and put it on my neck, and it used to be just real quick. I back up, Sometimes I'd be up against a wall. Sometimes I'd be up against the door. I mean, I could just be standing up. I kind of back up to get myself out of it, but it was enough to where he touched me. Just enough to jolt me, scare me, whatever. There was one time that I can remember where it actually was 2 hands. But most of the time it was 1. And it was kind of like he would do it and then he would catch himself and stop and walk away. In my mind at the time when I was going through it, I knew it was abuse, but I didn't look at it like that. And I don't know why. Someone told me before that I was just surviving. I didn't recognize it for what it was. I didn't recognize how severe that behavior was at the time that I was going through it. So we bought bikes, right? I think he knew we were getting to the end. It was kind of our last ditch effort to try to do things fun with each other, rekindle the relationship. Now, mind you, I'm in my 40s. I was in my early 40s at the time. I hadn't been on a bike in over 20 years. I'm sure he hadn't been on a bike in about the same time frame. But we had these great ideas to buy these bikes and on the weekends, find a different park in a different part of town from where we lived and just go explore the area and get some exercise. We finally went out. We went to this park that was about 45 minutes or so on the north side of town. We drove all the way up there. We went on a bike ride in the park. It was crazy because, first of all, again, I hadn't been on a bike in years. When I was with him, I was my heaviest weight, 265. Out of shape, hadn't been exercising. Got on this bike. We go for a little while. You know, something was crazy with my brakes. I was having trouble with the bike, whatever it was. Well, I wasn't going fast enough to keep up with him, and he got upset about it. Instead of this bike ride that should have been a fun event, it really started out as a nightmare from the very beginning because he lost his cool. He didn't have any patience. He thought I was going too slow and he didn't want to wait on me. So he didn't. He left. He left. He would speed up in front of me and go for I don't know how long, and then he'd pause and see where I was at. I'd catch up to him. So we weren't riding our bikes together. We just were in the park together at the same time is what it felt like. He ended up getting us lost. So we never turned around. We should have turned around long before we did. I think we ended up going about 7 or 10 miles or something like that altogether, which was bananas. Okay, it was bananas. When I tell y'all my legs was like noodles, I was like in so much pain. And we was in the woods. We were on a trail. So it's like you have to keep going because how else are you going to get yourself back to the car and go home? But he got us lost. He didn't want to admit that he got us lost. And then we got even more lost. And we finally came up on this road. We was looking at somebody's house. And I was like, what? It was like a car coming down the street. We were so lost. Well, we had turned around, got the GPS in the phone, figured out how to get back. And again, my legs was noodles already by this point. I was having so much trouble, like even going on. It was hot. It was terrible. Well, he left me again. He left me the whole time, but he left me. He drove off because he got so upset that I was taking so long. By then, it was starting to get dark, so he was wanting to hurry up and get out of the park. So he zoomed off. He left. And he made a comment to me. He said something about I'm holding him up or whatever. And I did. I told him, you don't got to wait for me. And so he didn't. He left. He zoomed off. I'm going through the park by myself. It's getting dark. There's nobody back there. I'm in the woods, okay? When I tell y'all I done rode up past a snake, it was all kind of critters coming across the sidewalk because again, I'm in Texas, right? The sun goes down, the animals are starting to come out because it's cooling off. I ran up on a family of deers in somebody's backyard coming through there. It was like so scary. He was calling me like, where are you at? Where do you think I'm at? I'm in the woods. You left. I mean, I'm trying to get out. I came up on an opening. I saw this police officer. I asked him if he could help me get back to my car. And I was like, I don't know where I'm at. So I had kind of described what my car looked like, where I thought I was parked. And he was like, oh, you're just around the corner. He said, I'm going to go ahead, make sure your car is over there. But all you got to do is come around this loop, go down the hill. You're right there. And I said, okay. He asked me what my car looked like. And I told him, and I said, my boyfriend is over there. And he said, what? So he was like, your boyfriend is over there. You mean he left you out here? He said, oh yeah, I'm going to go say something to him. It was a black guy. A police officer was a black guy, a black gentleman. He was really nice. So he drives off. I come around the corner, around a loop, come down the hill just like he told me to. And right there, I see them talking. They're talking and laughing and giggling, ha-ha, kikiing with each other. The officer invites us back for the following weekend. I think there was another event there. He said it would be a lot of fun. We would enjoy it. Da, da, da. We get in the car. He was so upset with me that he wasn't talking to me, which fine by me. Don't say nothing to me because I can't even believe you left me out in the woods. And it got dark. It got dark. I was out there by myself. I was scared, and I don't know how long it took me to get back to where he was, but I'm probably a good 10, 15 minutes or more. He went way ahead of me. Well, he got mad, and eventually he started talking and he started going off. Then it's like he remembered, and you had that police officer come say something to me. And he said, what? Shoved me in my head 3 times. So hard that my head hit the windshield. He just was going off. And I couldn't do nothing. I was in the passenger seat. And again, this is my own car. But we were on the middle of the highway on 45 headed south in Houston, Texas. And I'm 45 minutes away from home. And we don't have any family there. You know, again, I didn't tell nobody what's going on anyway. So I couldn't do nothing but just let him go off. I for sure just tried to, best I could to get through it. That was the first escalation. The next time he did something was a couple weeks after that. When he did that to me in the car, when he left me, I was so upset. Now, mind you, he had been putting his hands on me for years at this point. But I told you, I had enough. I couldn't figure out how to get out because the lease was in my name. I had 2 cars. One, they were both in my name. I was paying all the bills. I had a good job. I just couldn't figure out how to walk away from these things or how to maintain and get away from him safely, because he had started to tell me that if I told anybody, that he would hurt them. He would tell me that if I tried to leave, he would hunt me down and unalive me. I 100% believe that. I believe that he meant that. He was escalating. May comes around. We have an argument. We had a conversation one morning before we left to go to work. Well, at the time I was working from home. He was leaving to go to work. He had left the house and called me on the phone to talk to me, and I think he was irritated about something. I don't really actually remember. He said something to me about our future and the things that he wants out of the relationship he's not getting. And I told you at the time I was so checked out. I'm just listening whatever. Why are we having this conversation? Because both of us know the relationship is dead. But somewhere in there, he asked me something about having children. And he said that I don't bring it up anymore. But he also mentioned something about his child. And he feels like when I say things like I want my own child or I'm interested, I think I had mentioned that I was interested in adopting. And he took offense to it because he felt like, well, why isn't my child good enough for you? I had to pause on that because I was like, what? So I remember saying something to him to the effect of one really doesn't have anything to do with the other. So anyway, he gets to work and we get off the phone. I don't talk to him for the whole rest of the day. He doesn't call me. We might have exchanged text messages. I can't remember. Anyway, he comes home and tells me that we need to talk. And I'm like, about what? I was on my way out the door. It was a Tuesday. I'll never forget it because Tuesday we eat out. We always eat out on Tuesday. So I was getting ready to leave the house to go get dinner while he was coming in from work. And he told me we needed to talk. And he said, it could wait until you come back. And I was like, what is it? I mean, we could talk about it. We could talk about it now. So he sits on the couch across from me. I'm over here behind another couch that's near the front door. Long argument, short. I'm not even going to go into the details of the argument. It was so insignificant. He went on for 20 minutes, probably easy, about all the things that he felt like I wasn't doing in the relationship to satisfy him, to make him happy. What I'm doing is not enough. He's not getting what he needs. You're not getting what he needs sexually. You're not getting what he needs emotionally. I don't have good conversation. It's just all of it's bad. I don't say nothing because, again, both of us actually know the whole relationship is dead at this point. I don't say nothing. I don't have the energy. I don't have the desire. What do you even want me to say? I don't want to be with you. I don't want to fuck with you. Okay? That's how I really felt. I don't want to fuck with you. What do you want me to say? So I didn't say anything until he said to me, he's going to move on. But I need to allow him to stay in my house until he gets on his feet. And if he want to kick it with somebody else, he can do it. And he'll do it in the house if he feels like it. I'm talking about the level of disrespect, okay? So I said, I don't think so. I had not said nothing the whole time. I said, I don't think so. He mentioned something about he's tired of pretending that he want to be in a relationship. So that was the first thing I said in response. I'm tired of pretending too. It is what it is. I'm tired of pretending too. I don't want to be with you. You don't want to be with me. We're going to figure out how to not be with each other. But one thing you're not going to do is bring somebody else into my house and think that that's going to work. It's not. No, sir. I don't remember what else was said, but within a few moments of me saying that, he got up from the couch where he was. He came over to me and he did his hand like this and pushed me up against the door. In a corner like this, just pushed me down. I slid down on the wall. I came back up and I swung on him. I punched him in his face and I pushed him 3 times hard off of me, pushed him up against the door. And I told him, don't you put your fucking hands on me ever again. Tired of shit. This the reason why I don't fuck with you. Don't you touch me again. He looked at me and I looked at him, and I had my keys on the couch. So he looked at my keys, and before I could grab them, he grabbed them. And then he took off around the couch and back into the house. And I went behind him and I grabbed the other set of car keys, but he was kind of in the area. So to get away from him, I went and locked myself in the bedroom. Why? I don't know, because I can't get out of the bedroom. We lived on the 2nd floor. There's nothing below me to jump. There were so many times that I locked myself in the bedroom. I never thought that he would come in. And he didn't on this particular day. But I could hear him pacing, walking around the apartment, cussing, fussing, doing all this, yelling, telling me to come out. He was making comments about he don't have nothing to lose. He ready to end it all. Give me my effing keys. All of this. Come out the room. Whatever. Anything you could think of. Just yelling a bunch of nonsense. Of course I didn't come out the room. Of course I didn't. At some point, I came out the room. When I came out the room, he stood across from me in the living room area in the space that was between our 2 couches and on the way to the door to get out. He stood there with a knife in his hand. Kitchen knife that was about like this. And I don't remember him saying anything to me, but I remember I heard him pacing and walking around the house and making threats and talking about wanting to end everything and he don't have nothing to lose. I went back in the room and then I could hear him cussing and going off and this and that. And then he would say, come on, I'm not going to do nothing to hurt you. I ain't going to hurt you. I'm not going to touch you. And of course I'm like, bro, you have a knife. I'm not coming out. Also, I don't think I had my phone. I think it was in the other room still. Eventually, and I don't really know what it was. Like I said, he would just almost like snap out of it. He snapped out and I could just tell that he wasn't pacing anymore. I wasn't even sure that he was still in the living room area. I thought he had went to the other room. But I opened the door again and I could see him standing there and he had put the knife away and he told me, I'm not gonna hurt you, just give me my keys. So we made a trade. I walked past him and I ended up walking out the house. I didn't know, but there was another knife on the couch. I ended up walking out. I didn't look back. I didn't even look at him when I left. I just got the keys and I left the house, trembling. In my mind, I was leaving that day. And I started driving. And I don't know where I was going. I just was driving and I was trying to figure out what to do, where to go. I can't go back home. But I couldn't figure it out. And eventually I went back home. I locked myself in the bedroom that night and I didn't come out until the next day. I remember sometime between that day and the next time he attacked me, writing in my journal. I had not journaled for a long time, and I had intentionally not been journaling because I felt like he was going through my things in the house. So I didn't want to write anything down that he could see and use against me or know what I was thinking. So I kept it all up here. But I do remember writing in my journal that if something happened to me, he did it. Here's his name. Here's his information. Here's his full name, his mama's address, his phone number, his social security number. If something happens to me, he did it. Fast forward a week or two later, I'm not sure. We're in June at this point. Same kind of scenario. Get up that morning. I work from home. He heads out. Don't talk to him the whole day, maybe a couple times over text message. When he came home, I was leaving to go get food. He didn't say anything to me. And I just literally went around a corner. So I drove around a corner, picked up our food, came back home. I'm sitting in the driveway getting the stuff out the car. And I kid you not, y'all know how a song comes on the radio that you haven't heard in a long time. And you're like, man, I haven't heard that song in a long time. You just jamming in the car. That's literally what I was doing. Listening to this song play out in the car. I believe it was Maroon 5. I'm sitting in the car. I'm gathering my things, listening to this song. He comes out the apartment. I didn't see him. He walks up the sidewalk. Finally, when I see him, we make eye contact. He's looking at me and I could tell he's like boiling hot about something. What? I have no idea. He looks at me. I get out the car. He says something to me. He's not that close, so I can't hear him, but close enough that I could see him. I could tell he was probably cussing at me. And he said something about he was about to leave to get something to eat. And I was like, I just got us food. It's right here. He leaves. He gets in the car. He calls me from the car. I pick up the phone and he's ready to cuss me out. I couldn't deal with that. I said, I'm not listening to that. Click, hung up the phone. I go in the house. I put his food one place. I go in the bedroom. I lock myself in because I already know it's going to be some bullshit. I get myself basically ready for bed. I took my pants off, but something told me don't put the keys by the door where I normally put them. I left the keys in my pocket, took my jeans and I folded them up this way and I laid them down across the ironing board that was in the room. I'm in a t-shirt and underwear. I eat my food, watch TV, put my food away in the kitchen, come back in the room, lock myself in. He's still not home. When he comes home, I can hear him come up the steps into the house and toss his keys on the counter. I'm actually going to stop this episode right here and finish up in part 2. So with that, thank you guys so much for joining me today. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and I will see y'all next time on